Hi there, and welcome. I'm Julia, and I'm so happy you're here with me today on the English Talk community. Whether you've been following us for a while or this is your very first time joining, I want to say a warm, heartfelt welcome. This space was created with you in mind. Yes, you, who may be trying every day to improve your English, to feel more confident, to understand and express yourself more naturally. If you're new around here, let me tell you a little bit about what this community is all about. At the English Talk community, we believe learning English doesn't have to feel like a chore. It doesn't have to feel stressful, confusing, or lonely. We're here to make the process feel lighter, more human, and a little more fun. We're here to give you a place to grow, to reflect, to practice, and to truly live the English language, not just memorize it. This is a space where you'll always be encouraged, never judged. A place where real learning happens. One story at a time, one habit at a time, one little step forward at a time. You don't have to be perfect to be welcome here. You don't have to speak fluently yet, and you definitely don't need to feel embarrassed about your mistakes. That's part of the process, and we honor that here. Everyone starts somewhere, and everyone has their own path. What matters is that you've decided to keep showing up. You've decided to learn, to open your mind, to push through the fear, and to try again. And for that, I deeply respect you. When I started this channel, my biggest dream was to help people like you, people who understand English, who want to speak it better, but who just need the right guidance, the right stories, and the right voice telling them it's possible. That they're not broken, that they can do this. And that with time and consistency, speaking English becomes something you don't even have to think about. It becomes part of who you are. If you're feeling stuck right now, I want you to know that you're not alone. I've worked with so many learners over the years who feel exactly like you do. They watch movies, understand podcasts, maybe even read articles in English. But when it's time to speak, nothing comes out. Or maybe the words come out slowly, awkwardly, or not at all. That moment of pressure hits, and suddenly it's like everything they've learned disappears. I know how frustrating that is. I know how it can make you question yourself, your memory, or even your talent. But I want to remind you, speaking is not just about vocabulary or grammar. It's about confidence, about flow, and about the connection between your thoughts and your voice. And that's exactly what we're going to work on together. Here on this channel, we don't just focus on rules or tests. We focus on real-life English. We talk about the emotions behind language learning, the habits that help you grow, and the practical tools that actually work in the long term. Our mission is to make English feel natural to you, one practice at a time. You'll hear stories from people just like you. You'll get tips that you can use today in your own world, no matter where you are. And most importantly, you'll be reminded again and again that you are capable of more than you think. Some days the journey may feel slow. Other days you'll surprise yourself, and that's okay. That's how learning works. We're not here to race. We're here to build something solid, something real. I want this to be a space where you feel supported every step of the way. Like having a friend by your side who understands what it feels like to try, to fail, to learn, and to keep going. So if no one has told you this yet today, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the effort you're making. I'm proud that you've decided to learn something that will open new doors for you, both personally and professionally. Learning a new language is one of the most courageous and life-changing things a person can do. And you're doing it. This community is made of people from all over the world. Different countries, different stories, different dreams, but we all share one goal: to become confident, natural English speakers. And even though we may come from different places, we are united by this journey. That's why I love showing up here, week after week, to walk this path with you. I don't just want to teach, I want to grow with you, to be your guide, your supporter, your companion in this adventure. So take a deep breath. Let go of any pressure. This isn't about being perfect. This is about connection. It's about expression. It's about finally being able to say what you think, what you feel, and who you are in English. And if you stay with us, I promise you, you'll get there. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me. Let's take this next step together. Today, we're going to talk about something that so many people struggle with. Maybe you too. The theme is, you understand English but can't speak. Here's how to fix it. And yes, I mean fix it for good. If you've ever thought, Why can I understand movies, songs, and even conversations, but I freeze or forget everything when it's my turn to speak? You're not alone and you're not broken. You just haven't been taught the right way to unlock your speaking skills. What if I told you that speaking English naturally isn't just for people who live abroad or who are good at languages? What if I told you that you already have the knowledge inside you and all you need is the right method to bring it to the surface? The truth is, the key to speaking doesn't start with more grammar books or memorizing lists of words. It starts with training your brain and your mouth to work together in a new way. And here's the best part. You can begin this transformation today. Dikia Pauko, I'm going to tell you a story that might completely change the way you see English learning. It's a story about someone just like you, who understood English but couldn't speak, and what they did step by step to turn things around. Stay with me, because everything you're about to hear can become your new reality. I want to take a moment now to talk about something that many English learners feel but rarely say out loud. It's that silent frustration that comes when you've been studying for months, or even years, and you still struggle to speak. You understand conversations. You follow YouTube videos, podcasts, and maybe even the news in English. But when you have to open your mouth and respond, everything changes. Your heart beats faster, your mind goes blank. You feel stuck, embarrassed, maybe even ashamed. And if that's how you've been feeling, I want you to know. It's normal. You are not alone. Let me paint a picture. Imagine you're at your workplace, and suddenly a colleague starts speaking English. You catch every word. You understand what they're saying. Maybe they're asking how your weekend was. It's a simple question. But your brain panics. You know the words. It was nice. I went to the beach. But somehow, in that moment, nothing comes out. Or maybe you do speak, but the words feel unnatural, like they're stuck somewhere between your thoughts and your mouth. You think, why is this so hard? I know this. I know this. Or maybe you're traveling. You walk into a cafe in a new city. The person at the counter smiles and says, "Hi there, what can I get for you?" Again, the sentence is easy. You've practiced it before. But suddenly you freeze. You feel the people behind you waiting. Your hands feel sweaty. You point at the menu instead. Later, you feel disappointed with yourself, even though no one said anything bad. You think, why? Can't I just speak like everyone else? These moments can feel small on the outside, but inside they leave a deep impact. They make you doubt yourself. You might start to wonder, maybe I'm just not good at speaking. You look at other learners who seem confident and fluent, and you think, what's wrong with me? Why is it taking me so long? I've talked to so many learners who live with this quiet frustration every day. One person told me, "Julia, I can write emails in English. I can even help my son with his homework. But if someone calls me and starts speaking English on the phone, I panic and hang up." Another learner said, "I practice speaking by myself. But when I try to talk to a real person, I feel like a beginner again." Maybe you've felt the same way. Like you've built a lot of knowledge, but the moment to use it slips through your fingers. Let me tell you something important. This feeling does not mean you're failing. It means your brain is protecting you. Yes, protecting you. Speaking is not just a language skill, it's a social action. It involves risk, emotion, memory, and self-image. When you hesitate, it's not because you don't know the words, it's because your brain is trying to avoid embarrassment, trying to keep you safe. And while that's totally natural, it's also something we can train. You don't need to fight against your brain. You need to guide it gently in a new direction. It's also common to feel like your progress isn't real because you're not speaking fluently yet. But think of it this way. Just because a flower hasn't bloomed doesn't mean it's not growing. There's development happening underground, all the time. The roots are forming. The structure is getting stronger. And that's exactly what's happening with your English. Your understanding is your foundation. And the ability to speak, that's the bloom. It comes with the right kind of attention, practice, and patience. I've seen learners hide their skills because they're afraid of being judged. They avoid conversations. They pretend not to understand, just to escape the pressure of speaking. I've also seen learners who stay silent in meetings, even when they have great ideas, simply because they don't trust their English enough to share. And I want to say, if you've ever done that, it doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. You might hear a little voice inside saying things like, "What if I make a mistake?" Or, "They'll think I'm not smart." Or even, "I should speak perfectly by now." That voice can be loud sometimes, but I want you to know, it's not the truth. Mistakes are not the enemy. Silence is not your identity. And just because you're not fluent today doesn't mean you never will be. Many learners tell me they feel alone in this, like everyone else is advancing and they're stuck. But that's just not true. There are thousands, even millions of people around the world who are on this same path. They're studying late at night after work, they're practicing in the shower, they're dreaming of the day they can speak freely. And they're struggling too. That's why I created this channel, because this journey is easier when we walk it together. So if you've been carrying this weight of doubt, of fear, of silence, I want to help you let go of it. I want you to feel seen, heard, and understood. Because you are. Everything you've felt so far is valid. Every frustrating moment has a place here. And more than anything, I want you to remember this. You are not alone. You are exactly where you need to be to begin growing in a new way. Let's talk about what's really going on when you can understand English but struggle to speak it. This is one of the most common challenges among learners, and yet most people don't realize that it's not about intelligence or even effort. It's about how your brain processes language. Understanding and speaking are two completely different skills, and they live in different parts of your brain. Think of it like this. Understanding is like reading a map. Speaking is like driving the car. You might understand where you need to go, but that doesn't mean you've practiced getting behind the wheel. So let me give you a simple and visual definition of the core idea we're exploring today. When you understand English but can't speak, it means that your passive vocabulary is much stronger than your active vocabulary. Passive vocabulary includes all the words you recognize when you hear or read them. Active vocabulary includes the words you can use easily and automatically when you speak or write. Most learners build a strong passive base first because it feels easier. Watching videos, reading articles, listening to music, it's all input. But speaking, that requires output. It's like having a full fridge of ingredients, but not knowing how to cook a meal. You recognize everything, but when it's time to create something, you freeze. Here's another analogy that might help. Imagine you've been watching people swim for years. You know the strokes, you've read about techniques, you've seen every YouTube tutorial. But you've never been in the water. The day you finally step into the pool, your body doesn't move the way you imagined. Your breathing is off. You panic. That doesn't mean you didn't learn anything. It means swimming is a physical skill. Speaking English is also a physical skill. Your brain, your mouth, your muscles all need to work together. And just like swimming, you can only improve by getting in the water. That's where the transformation begins. Let me explain it another way. Think of a musician. She's listened to hundreds of songs, memorized lyrics, studied music theory, but if she's never played the piano, she won't be able to perform. Understanding how a melody works is not the same as having the muscle memory to play it. That's exactly what happens in language learning. Understanding the grammar rules, listening to correct pronunciation, recognizing words, that's all music theory. But speaking, that's playing the piano. You need practice. You need repetition. You need to train your body and mind to work in sync. One of the biggest shifts happens when you stop thinking of English as a subject to study and start thinking of it as a skill to train, like learning to dance. You don't read about dancing. You move your body. You make mistakes. You feel silly. And over time, your body starts to learn the rhythm. The same is true for English. The more you speak, even imperfectly, the more natural it becomes. Now, let's talk about benefits. When you switch from just input, listening, reading, to consistent output, speaking, even just thinking out loud, your confidence grows. You begin to trust yourself. Your brain starts to connect the dots faster. You stop translating in your head. And your speaking becomes smoother, more automatic. You stop analyzing every sentence and start expressing yourself freely. That's the real goal, Not perfection, but fluency. And fluency is flow. Fluency means being able to say what you're thinking without breaking the rhythm of your thoughts. Here's a practical example. Imagine you learn the phrase, "I'm not sure." You hear it in movies, you read it in books. You understand it perfectly. That's passive knowledge. But then, in a real conversation, someone asks you a question, and your brain has to search for words. You think, I don't, maybe, I don't know. And then later, you remember, oh, I should have said, I'm not sure. That's the gap we're trying to close. Our goal is to move phrases like, I'm not sure, from the back of your brain to the front, so they're ready when you need them. Another example. Let's say you know the word comfortable. You understand it when someone says, this chair is comfortable, but have you ever tried saying it yourself? It's not an easy word to pronounce. Many learners say comfortable or pause awkwardly. That's a speaking barrier, but if you practice saying it 5, 10, 20 times out loud, just like a singer rehearsing lyrics, it becomes easier. Soon you'll be able to say, I'm not comfortable with that, without thinking twice. That's active learning. That's building fluency. There's another simple exercise I recommend often: shadowing. That means listening to a native speaker and repeating what they say in real time, like an echo. It forces your brain and mouth to work together, and it builds rhythm, pronunciation, and speed. You can do it with podcasts, YouTube videos, or even your favorite movie scenes. It's like singing along to your favorite song. You don't need to understand every word at first. You just follow the rhythm. Over time, your brain catches up. That's powerful practice. Let me also tell you something that's often misunderstood. Silence is not the solution. Many learners stay quiet thinking they'll speak when they're ready. But the truth is, speaking makes you ready. You get ready by doing it, not by waiting. Every time you speak, even if it's just to yourself in the mirror, you're creating a pathway in your brain. And the more you walk that path, the smoother it becomes. Eventually, it turns into a road, then a highway. Then, it's automatic. And here's the part that surprises most people. You don't need a native speaker to start practicing. You don't need to move to another country. You can begin right where you are, by talking to yourself in English, describing your actions, thinking out loud. You can narrate your day. I'm brushing my teeth now. I'm making coffee. I'm tired today, but I have a lot to do. These little sentences add up. They create fluency in real life contexts. They prepare you for natural conversations. So the central idea is this: fluency is not knowledge, it's habit. Speaking is not about how much you know, it's about how often you use it. And you don't need more information to get fluent. You need more activation of what you already know. You need to move English from your brain to your body. That's the true shift. And once you understand that, everything changes. Let's take a moment now to really activate what we've just talked about. I don't want you to only understand the idea of moving from passive to active knowledge. I want you to experience it. So let's do something simple right now together. If you can, say this out loud with me. And if you're in a place where speaking isn't possible, whisper it or say it in your mind, but with full focus. First, look around you. Really, wherever you are, pause for a few seconds and notice your surroundings. Now, I want you to name 3 objects you can see using English. Don't translate. Just say the name of the object. For example, chair, window, phone. Say them slowly and clearly. Ready? Go ahead. Now let's add a sentence for each one. Start with I see a... For example, I see a chair, I see a window, I see a phone. Your turn. Repeat out. Loud. I see a... And then say the object. Do it for 3 things. Speak slowly and clearly. Feel how your mouth moves. This is how fluency starts, by using what you already know in real time. Now let's go a little deeper. Choose one of those objects and describe it. Just one adjective. For example, the chair is black, or the phone is old. Don't worry about perfection. Just speak. Say it like this. The object is adjective. Say your 3 sentences now. If you need help thinking of adjectives, use simple ones. big, small, old, new, clean, dirty, blue, red. Just say it naturally, like you would talk to a friend. Let's repeat the structure together a few times. I'll say it, then you repeat after me. The book is heavy. Now you. The book is heavy. The table is small. Your turn. The table is small. The bag is red. Say it out loud. The bag is red. These are short, clear sentences. But every time you say them, you're building a new habit. You're training your brain and your mouth to work together. That's how fluency is formed. Not through memorizing, but through using. Now let's do something I love to practice. It's called describe and repeat. I'll guide you. First, look at something around you and say what it is. For example, I see a plant. Then add a sentence with color. The plant is green. Then add another detail. The plant is in the corner. Your final version would be, I see a plant. The plant is green. The plant is in the corner. Try this now with any object around you. Speak slowly. Use full sentences. Feel how your confidence grows with each layer. Let's do one together. I'll go first. I see a cup. The cup is white. The cup is on the table. Now you. Pick any object and say 3 sentences about it, following the same structure. It might feel simple, but this is exactly the kind of practice that moves vocabulary from passive to active. You're not just recognizing words, you're using them. You're speaking. Now we'll move into a rhythm-based repetition. Say the sentence after me. I am in the kitchen. Repeat. I am in the kitchen. I am looking at the fridge. Now you. I am looking at the fridge. The fridge is cold. You. The fridge is cold. There is milk inside. The fridge. Say it now. There is milk inside the fridge. Try saying all 4 sentences together. Build the flow. This is how you develop fluency, by building short chains of ideas and repeating them until they feel natural. Let's try another round with a new setting. Imagine you're in your bedroom. Follow me. I am in my bedroom. Now you. I am in my bedroom. The bed is soft. Repeat that. The bed is soft. There is a pillow on the bed. You say it. There is a pillow on the bed. I see a lamp next to the bed. Repeat. I see a lamp next to the bed. Now say the full sequence. Don't rush. Let your brain process and your mouth speak at the same time. These simple exercises are powerful. They're not about perfection. They're about habit, about repetition, and about bringing English into your everyday world. Let's do one last. Set. Look at your hands. Yes, your hands. Say, these are my hands. Now say, my hands are strong. Then say, I use my hands every day. Again, these are my hands. My hands are strong. I use my hands every day. You're practicing with real things, real context, real fluency. Remember, the more you speak, even if it's simple, the more your brain understands that English is useful. It's not something you only use in a classroom or a textbook. It's something that lives with you all day, every day. So keep going, keep repeating, keep noticing things and saying them out loud. Speak about your room, your food, your day. Little by little, your fluency will grow. Let me tell you about someone who might remind you of yourself. His name is Tomas. He's 32 years old, and he lives in Prague, in the heart of Europe. He had been learning English for years, at school, through online courses, and by watching movies with subtitles. He could understand almost everything he read. He even followed podcasts and YouTube videos in English without needing to pause or rewind. But every time he tried to speak, the words wouldn't come. He worked as a web designer at a tech company with international clients. And more than once, he was in meetings where the entire conversation switched to English. In those moments, Tomas felt a wave of anxiety crash over him. His heart would race, his hands would sweat, and he would pretend to be focused on taking notes so he wouldn't have to say anything. He often rehearsed sentences in his mind, but by the time he had a complete thought ready, someone else had already moved the conversation forward. He started to believe that maybe he just wasn't meant to speak English, that his brain just didn't. work that way. I'm not confident enough, he would tell himself. I always freeze. My accent is terrible. People will judge me. These were thoughts he carried like a heavy backpack, day after day. And because he never spoke, the fear only grew stronger. One evening, after another long day of holding back in meetings, Tomas was walking through Letna Park, trying to clear his mind. He pulled out his phone and searched something like, "Why? Can I understand English but can't speak it?" That's how he ended up watching one of our videos. He listened carefully, nodding with a sense of recognition. It felt like I was describing exactly what he was experiencing. The next day, he decided to try something different. Not big, not dramatic, just something small. He made a personal rule. For 5 minutes every morning, he would speak out loud to himself in English. It didn't matter what he said. It didn't have to be correct. It just had to be spoken. The first few mornings were awkward. He stood in front of his bathroom mirror and forced himself to say basic things. "Good morning, Tomas. Today is Tuesday. You will go to work." He felt silly, but he kept doing it. He also started labeling objects around his apartment with sticky notes. Fridge, window, chair, lamp. Every time he walked by one of these objects, he would say the word out loud. Sometimes he would add simple sentences. The lamp is on, the chair is brown. Slowly, without realizing it, Tomas began building fluency. Not through memorization, but through interaction. At lunch breaks, instead of scrolling endlessly, on his phone, he would take out a small notebook and write down a short paragraph about his morning, then read it out loud. "I had coffee. I checked my email. I spoke with my coworker about the new project." He didn't check for grammar. He didn't try to be perfect. He just practiced turning thoughts into words, and those words into speech. After 2 weeks, he decided to take it one step further. He joined an online language exchange. The idea terrified him at first. What if I say something stupid? He thought. But he reminded himself of the progress he had already made. He told himself, "My goal is not to speak perfectly. My goal is to speak." He scheduled a 15-minute call with a woman from Dublin who wanted to learn Czech. They agreed to speak in English first, then switch. During the first call, Tomas struggled. He hesitated. He said and a lot. But he made it to the end. And when they hung up, something shifted. He didn't feel defeated. He felt proud, not because it was perfect, but because he had spoken. He had broken the silence. He continued these small steps every day. And 3 months later, something remarkable happened. He was in a Zoom meeting with a client from Berlin. The client asked a question in English about a design file. And before Tomas could overthink it, he answered. Naturally. Simply. He said, "Yes, I updated the file yesterday. You'll find the new version in the shared folder." The client thanked him, and the meeting moved on. No one gasped. No one laughed. It was a normal moment, but for Tomas, it was a victory. That night, he walked again through Letna Park, this time with a quiet smile. He remembered how just a few weeks earlier, even a simple sentence had felt impossible. Now, English was becoming part of his daily life. Not because he suddenly became fluent overnight, but because he had practiced, consistently, patiently, with compassion for himself. One of the things Tomas realized during his journey is that fluency is not a finish line. It's a daily practice. A decision to show up, even when it feels uncomfortable. A willingness to say something simple instead of staying silent. It's about building trust with yourself. Each time he spoke out loud, even alone, he was telling his brain, "This is safe, this is useful, we can do this." He still makes mistakes. He still forgets words sometimes. But now he doesn't panic. He keeps going. And the more he speaks, the more natural it feels. What once was a source of shame has now become a source of pride. Tomas's story isn't unique because of how far he came. It's powerful because of how he started, with tiny daily actions that added up. With 5 minutes a day, with sticky notes, with simple sentences about coffee and chairs and emails. That's how real change happens. That's how fluency grows. And that's exactly how you can do it too. Now that you've seen how small, consistent actions can lead to real progress in your spoken English, I want to take you a little deeper. There's another layer to this that most people never talk about, and it's often the key difference between someone who understands English passively and someone who uses it confidently in everyday life. The first layer is about breaking silence and speaking out loud. But the next layer, this one, is about building language awareness. Let me explain what I mean by that. Think about driving a car. When you're learning, you focus hard on every little action, checking mirrors, pressing pedals, watching signs. But once you're comfortable, your brain doesn't think step by step anymore. You just drive. The awareness shifts from isolated tasks to a smooth, overall experience. Language learning can work the same way. At first, you're thinking about grammar, translating, organizing your thoughts. But at some point, if you keep practicing, your awareness shifts. You begin to sense patterns, flow, rhythm, even without translating. That shift doesn't come from memorizing more vocabulary. It comes from noticing how language works in the real world. This is where I want to invite you to go. I want you to become not just a student of English, but an observer of English. A language detective. Someone who doesn't just ask, "What does this word mean?" but also, "Why did they say it like that?" Or, "Where else have I seen this phrase used?" Here's a simple way to start developing that deeper awareness. Let's talk about the phrase, "I'm used to it." It looks basic, but there's so much behind it. For someone learning English, this might seem confusing. You might ask, used to what? Is this past tense? Habitual action? But when you hear it in real life, "I'm used to the noise. She's used to waking up early." You start to see that this phrase isn't about past habits. It's about comfort, familiarity. It means something has become normal over time. Now here's the cool part. Once you understand the structure and meaning, you begin to notice variations. "I'm not used to it." "He's still getting used to it." "You'll get used to it." Each one adds a new shade of meaning. This is language awareness. It's noticing that "used to" isn't just a rule in a textbook. It's a living expression that adapts to real situations. Let's go further. Take the verb get. It's everywhere in English, and at first it feels like a messy puzzle. Get a job, get tired, get going, get it done, get over it. So many meanings, right? But when you start looking closely, you realize that get often involves change, a shift from one state to another. Get tired means you move from being energetic to feeling tired. Get over it means moving from pain or frustration to acceptance. Suddenly, get becomes clearer. It's not a random word. It's a signal of transition. That's the kind of insight that makes your English feel more alive. I remember talking to a student from Vienna named Clara. She had a solid grasp of English grammar and vocabulary, but she felt like everything she said sounded robotic. I asked her to start collecting phrases instead of single words. Instead of writing down just happy, she started noticing feel happy, look happy, keep her happy, make him happy. She began to pay attention to how words live in sentences, how they move together like dance partners. In just a few weeks, her speaking became more fluid, not because she learned new words, but because she learned how to use familiar words more naturally. Let me give you another example, the word take. At first glance, it seems simple. But when you start observing real-life English, you'll find it in expressions like take your time, take a break, take responsibility, take it seriously, take care. These aren't just random collocations. They carry specific emotional and cultural meanings. Take responsibility isn't just a task. It implies maturity, leadership. Take your time isn't just about speed. It's about patience, kindness. When you learn these expressions as full units, your understanding goes deeper and your speaking becomes smoother. To build this kind of awareness, you need curiosity and repetition. Watch a short video or read a short article in English, then go back and read it again. But this time, highlight or write down any phrases that repeat. Ask yourself, what kind of feeling does this phrase carry? What happens before or after this sentence? How would I say this same idea in my own words? Here's a metaphor I like to use. Imagine English is a big city. When you're new, you use the map all the time. You follow rules and directions carefully. But as you spend more time in the city, you stop looking at the map. You start to feel where the streets go. You recognize landmarks. You develop a sense of direction. That's what language awareness feels like. It's not about knowing every detail. It's about developing a sense for how the language moves, sounds, and feels. You can also try shadowing exercises to build this instinct. Find a short audio clip, maybe from a podcast or a scene in a TV show. Play a sentence, pause, and repeat it out loud. Focus not just on the words, but on the melody, the emotion, the rhythm. Do it a few times, then play the whole clip again and try to speak along with it, like you're singing a song. You'll start to hear where the speaker slows down, where they emphasize a word, where their voice rises or falls. All of that is part of communication, and all of it can be practiced. Language is not just vocabulary and grammar. It's rhythm, movement, breath, pause. When someone says, "I was kind of surprised," the word kind of doesn't carry information. It carries tone. It softens the message. When someone says, "actually," it can mean correction, surprise, or even disagreement, depending on how it's used. And when you develop awareness, you begin to hear those invisible layers. Another useful way to explore this is through contrast. Take two similar expressions and compare them. "I think so" versus "I guess so." Both are used when you're not 100% sure, but they carry different attitudes. "I think so" sounds more certain, more logical. "I guess so" sounds more hesitant, more emotional. This kind of comparison helps you choose words that match your feelings, not just your grammar. One of the most powerful habits you can build is keeping a language notebook. Not for new words, but for interesting phrases and patterns you notice. Every day, write down 3 things that catch your attention. Things you heard in a video, read in an article, or saw in a message. Then try to use each one in a sentence of your own. Don't worry about being perfect. Just experiment. Play. This turns your brain from passive receiver to active builder. When you treat English as a living system instead of a school subject, everything changes. You're no longer just translating thoughts, you're participating in the flow of the language. You start noticing the subtle difference between "he said no" and "he was like no," or the tone behind "I'm not sure about that" versus I don't know. This deeper awareness gives you more than just fluency. It gives you confidence. Because you're no longer guessing, you're feeling the language, like music. You're not building sentences from scratch every time. You're drawing from patterns you've seen and heard 100 times. And that makes everything easier, smoother, more real. Now let's go a bit further with our practice. The idea here is to make your brain interact with English more naturally, using your imagination and your daily environment. This is the moment where knowledge turns into skill. You've already started building awareness of the language. Now, we're going to train that awareness in small but powerful ways. Let's begin with something simple. I want you to look around the place where you are right now. Pick 3 objects you see and name them in English. Say them out loud. Maybe you see a chair, a cup, and a notebook. Good. Now describe each one with just one word. Brown chair, empty cup, blue notebook. Now try a sentence. The chair is brown. I use the cup every morning. This notebook is for English. You don't need fancy words. You just need to say them. Feel how natural that starts to sound when you repeat. Now let's add variation. Try saying the same ideas with a little change. I sit on the brown chair every day. This cup has tea in it. I write my goals in this notebook. These are small steps, but they train your brain to create English automatically. That's the goal here. Not perfection, but flow. Let's imagine a situation. You're in a cafe. Can you picture it? You're sitting by the window. What's in front of you? Maybe a cup of coffee, maybe a slice of cake? Try to describe the scene out loud. I'm sitting in a cafe. The table is small. There's a cup of coffee and a slice of cake. People are talking around me. I hear music. It doesn't matter if you're actually there or not. What matters is that you're using your imagination in English. Now let's change the scene. Imagine you're at the airport, waiting for a flight. What do you see? What do you hear? Try saying something like, I'm at the airport. I see people with suitcases. Someone is talking on the phone. I hear announcements. I feel excited. By imagining the situation and speaking it out loud, you're building the exact skills you need in real-life conversations. Let's do another. You're in a supermarket. Imagine you're walking down the fruit aisle. Try to speak aloud. I'm in the supermarket. I see apples, bananas, and grapes. I'm looking for oranges. There are many people here. A child is crying. A woman is choosing apples. Try adding details. I don't know which apples to choose. I think I'll get the green ones. They look fresh. You're not just translating. You're building a habit of speaking about what's happening around you, or what could be happening. Let's practice with common routines. Think about your morning. Can you describe it in simple steps? Say it out loud. I wake up. I brush my teeth. I drink water. I take a shower. I eat breakfast. Now add more details. I wake up at 7. I brush my teeth with mint toothpaste. I drink cold water. I take a hot shower. I eat toast with butter. These little expansions are so important. They help you go from basic to fluent without needing to memorize anything new, just by practicing what you already know. Now take that same idea and move to your evening. I finish work at 6. I cook dinner. I watch TV. I call my friend. I go to bed. Try to personalize it. I finish work at 6 and I feel tired. I cook pasta and vegetables. I watch a documentary. I call my sister. I go to bed around 11. The more specific you are, the more your English sounds like you, and that's what makes it stick. Let's play with repetition now, but with small changes. We'll use a structure and vary just one part. For example, I like reading in the morning. Now change the activity. I like walking in the morning. I like listening to music in the morning. I like cleaning in the morning. Feel how your brain gets faster at creating new sentences. Now try changing the time. I like reading at night. I like walking after lunch. I like listening to music in the evening. That's how you build flexibility, by changing one small thing at a time. Let's move to feelings. Start with, I feel happy when. Finish the sentence in your own way. Maybe I feel happy when I drink coffee. Or I feel happy when I talk to my friends. Now try, I feel tired when, or I feel relaxed when. Let your mind explore. I feel tired when I don't sleep well. I feel relaxed when I listen to soft music. These are real sentences from your own life, and that makes them powerful. Let's try short dialogues now. Imagine someone asks you, "How are you today?" You answer, "I'm good, thanks. A little tired, but good." Now imagine a friend asks, "What did you do yesterday?" You say, "I went to work, then I watched a movie." Keep it short, natural, and speak it out loud. These tiny dialogues train your brain to respond quickly without translating. Let's go one step further. Imagine someone says, "What are your plans for the weekend?" How do you answer? Try, "I'm going to visit my parents," or "I'll stay home and rest." Try 2 or 3 versions. "I want to go hiking." "Maybe I'll read a book." "I'm thinking of meeting some friends." When you imagine these questions and answers, you create a mental map. You prepare yourself for real conversations. Now practice giving opinions. Start with "I think" or "in my opinion." For example, "I think learning English is fun," or "In my opinion, watching movies helps a lot." Try other topics. "I think coffee is better than tea." "I think dogs are smarter than cats." "In my opinion, mornings are better than nights." Again, don't focus on being perfect. Just speak. Let's add a little storytelling. Think of a memory, a small one, maybe last weekend. Try this. "Last Saturday, I went to the park. It was sunny. I walked for an hour. I saw some dogs. I sat on a bench and listened to music." Simple but powerful. You are using past tense, describing a moment, and personalizing your English. Now do the same with a future plan. "Next weekend, I'm going to the mountains. I want to relax. I will take photos. I hope the weather is nice." You're using the future naturally without overthinking. To finish this round of practice, try giving instructions. Imagine you are teaching someone how to make tea. Boil water, put the tea bag in the cup, pour the hot water, wait 5 minutes, take the bag out, add sugar if you like. These are action steps, and they help you use verbs clearly and confidently. By repeating, imagining, and applying these exercises to different parts of your life, you're not just learning English, you're living it. That's where the real fluency begins. Keep playing, keep speaking, and let the language become part of your daily rhythm. Let me tell you about someone I met through the community. His name is Tomas, he's 35, and he lives in Krakow, Poland. Tomas had a good job as a systems analyst in a large IT company, and part of his work involved reading documentation in English. That part he handled well. He could understand most of what he read, and if something was unclear, he knew how to look it up. But there was one area that always made him feel stuck: speaking. Every few months, his company would have meetings with partners from other countries. These were video calls where people spoke quickly, casually, and with different accents. Tomas didn't have to lead those meetings, but he was expected to participate, answer questions, give short updates, and sometimes explain a process. And that's where the panic always hit. He told me once, "My hands would sweat when I knew I had to say something. I could hear myself thinking in Polish, trying to translate. But by the time I formed the sentence in English, the conversation had already moved on." He felt embarrassed, not because he didn't know English, but because he couldn't express what he wanted to say in the moment. He felt like he was constantly falling behind, even though he was one of the most competent people on his team. Tomas tried different things. He watched English videos, listened to podcasts during his commute, and even followed grammar tutorials. But the problem wasn't knowledge, it was confidence and flow. He wasn't using his English in a way that reflected how he used his native language, naturally, spontaneously, and without judgment. And that's when he decided to try a different approach. He went back to the basics, but in a smarter way. He started by setting a rule for himself. Every day, for 10 minutes, he would talk to himself in English. Not read, not repeat after a recording, but talk, freely, openly, about anything. In the beginning, it felt strange. He would close the door to his room, look in the mirror, and say things like, "Today is Monday. I have 3 meetings. I feel a little tired, but I want to do a good job." It was simple, but it was his voice, in real time, saying real things. Over time, those 10 minutes became a safe space. He used them to describe what he was doing, how he felt, what he saw, or even what he hoped to do that weekend. If he forgot a word, he would describe it. "I need to buy that thing for cleaning the floor, the long stick with the soft part. Mop. Yes, mop." And by doing that, he was training his brain to stay in English, even when things weren't perfect. He also changed how he listened. Instead of just watching videos, he started shadowing, listening to short clips and repeating exactly what he heard right after the speaker. Not worrying about full understanding, but focusing on rhythm, pronunciation, and keeping the words flowing. At first, it felt awkward, but he kept going. Every day, for 5 or 10 minutes, he shadowed real conversations, from interviews, movies, or even YouTube channels. It helped him hear the natural patterns of speech and practice them without pressure. But the most powerful change came when he started combining speaking with everyday activities. He would cook and talk aloud in English. "Now I cut the onion. It's strong. My eyes are watering." He would walk to the store and narrate what he saw. "There's a dog. It's sleeping near the door. The bakery smells good." Little moments, but they built momentum. He began to notice that he wasn't translating anymore. He was thinking in English step by step. One day he told me something that really stuck with me. He said, "I realized my goal wasn't to speak like a native speaker. My goal was to speak like myself, but in English." That mindset shift made all the difference. He stopped comparing himself to other people and started tracking his own progress. Not in big, dramatic leaps, but in small victories. After about 3 months of consistent daily speaking practice, Tomas noticed something during a company meeting. His manager asked him to explain a new workflow they were testing. Normally, Tomas would freeze or stumble, but that day, something clicked. He said what he needed to say, clearly, simply, and without panic. He wasn't fast, and he still made a few mistakes, but his voice didn't shake, and his words came naturally. After the meeting, a colleague messaged him and said, "Hey, you explained that really well. Thanks." It was a small comment, but to Tomas, it felt huge. Since then, Tomas has kept his daily habit. It's not about being perfect, it's about staying connected to the language. He still talks to himself in English when he walks, when he washes dishes, or when he's thinking through an idea. And he told me, "It's like I have a second voice in my mind now, a calm one. It helps me think and speak without fear." What I love about Tomas's story is that it's not a fairy tale transformation. It's a real example of what happens when you practice with intention and kindness. He didn't need a teacher correcting every word. He needed a space to explore, make mistakes, and keep going. And that's exactly what he gave himself. His journey shows that fluency isn't about knowing every word. It's about building comfort in the language, using it daily, trusting yourself, and allowing your English to grow like a part of you. Tomas didn't change overnight, but little by little his confidence caught up with his knowledge. And now, he's not just participating in meetings, he's contributing, leading, and feeling proud of how far he's come. Now let's take a moment together to reflect on what you've heard so far. I want you to pause for a second and think about your own experience with speaking English. How do you feel when you try to speak? Do you notice any patterns in your thoughts or feelings? Maybe you feel nervous, or maybe you catch yourself hesitating before you say something. That's completely normal, and it's okay to be honest with yourself about it. Ask yourself this: what is the biggest obstacle that holds me back from speaking more confidently? Is it fear of making mistakes? Is it not knowing enough vocabulary? Or maybe it's feeling shy or worried about what others might think. Try to identify exactly what's happening in your mind during those moments when you want to speak, but stop yourself. Now think about your daily routine. How often do you actually practice speaking English? It could be out loud to yourself, with a friend, or even by recording your voice. Are there moments in your day where you could add just a little practice? Maybe during your commute, while cooking, or before going to bed? Sometimes simply being aware of these small opportunities can make a big difference. Remember, learning to speak a language is not about rushing or pushing yourself too hard. It's about being patient and kind with yourself. When you notice frustration or disappointment, try to speak to yourself as you would to a close friend. Say, "It's okay to make mistakes. I am learning. Every little step counts." This gentle mindset helps reduce pressure and opens up space for growth. I also want you to consider how you react internally when you make a mistake while speaking. Do you feel embarrassed or discouraged? Or can you remind yourself that mistakes are part of the learning process? Changing how we respond to mistakes can transform the way we approach speaking. Instead of fearing errors, you can see them as stepping stones to improvement. Think about your motivation too. Why do you want to speak English more fluently? Is it for work, travel, making new friends, or maybe personal satisfaction? Keeping that reason in mind can give you the encouragement you need on tough days. Whenever you feel stuck or unmotivated, reconnect with your why. It's your personal fuel to keep going. Finally, I invite you to set a small, realistic goal for yourself related to speaking English. It might be as simple as saying one sentence out loud every day or joining a conversation group once a week. What feels doable for you right now? Remember, consistency over time is what leads to real progress, not perfection or speed. Take your time with these questions. Reflect honestly but kindly. Your journey is unique, and every step you take is valuable. I'm here with you, cheering you on every moment. After you've taken those first important steps towards speaking English more confidently, there's a new challenge that often comes up. It's something many people don't expect, and it can feel frustrating when it happens. You might think, "I started speaking more, but now I feel stuck again. Why is this happening?" This is a very common experience, and I want you to know it's completely normal. This challenge often shows up after your initial progress, like hitting a plateau. At first, you see clear improvement. Maybe you managed to say a few sentences out loud, or had a short conversation and you felt proud. But then things slow down. Your speaking doesn't improve as quickly, or you find yourself repeating the same phrases without feeling more comfortable. You might feel less motivated or even doubt if you're really making progress. I've seen this happen with many learners, and I've been there myself. So, what causes this plateau? One big reason is that after the beginner stage, the learning process changes. The easy wins become fewer, and you need new strategies to keep moving forward. This is where many people get discouraged because the quick fix feeling disappears. But here's the important truth. Progress is still happening, even if it feels slower. Language learning is not a straight line. It has ups and downs, and that's okay. To help you overcome this plateau, I want to share a simple and practical strategy you can start using right now. It's called mini challenges. These are small, manageable goals that push you just a little bit outside your comfort zone. For example, instead of just repeating phrases, you can try describing something around you in English for 30 seconds. Or, if you usually practice alone, try speaking with a language partner or even recording a short voice message to yourself. The key is to create small moments where you actively use English, but in a way that feels achievable. Mini challenges work because they keep your brain engaged and prevent boredom. They also build your confidence step by step. You don't have to wait for long practice sessions or perfect conditions. Even 5 minutes a day of focused speaking can make a big difference when done consistently. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, but steady progress. Each mini challenge is like a small victory that helps you build momentum. Another important part of this is tracking your progress. When you complete a mini challenge, celebrate it. Write it down or say it out loud. Today, I described my favorite book in English. This simple act of acknowledging your efforts can boost your motivation and help you see that you're moving forward, even when it feels slow. Sometimes it's also helpful to remind yourself why you started learning English in the first place. When the plateau feels frustrating, come back to your reasons. Maybe you want to travel, connect with new people, or improve your career opportunities. Your motivation is the fuel that will keep you going through the tougher parts of your journey. Encourage you to be patient and kind with yourself during this phase. Avoid comparing your progress to others or expecting to become fluent overnight. Every learner faces challenges, and the ones who succeed are those who keep showing up, even when it's hard. Consistency is the secret ingredient that turns small steps into big results. If you find your motivation dipping, try to mix things up. Listen to English songs, watch movies with subtitles, or read interesting articles. These activities may not be direct speaking practice, but they enrich your understanding and make your brain more comfortable with the language. When you feel ready, bring those new words and ideas into your mini speaking challenges. Remember, language learning is a journey filled with different phases. After your first wins, the plateau is just another step forward. By using mini challenges, tracking your progress, and reconnecting with your motivation, you're equipping yourself to keep climbing. Keep going, even if it's just a little bit each day. Over time, those small efforts add up to big improvements, and your ability to speak English will grow stronger and more natural. Now that we've talked about some important strategies to keep improving, let's practice building complete sentences together. This step is really important because speaking fluently isn't just about knowing words. It's about putting those words into clear, full sentences that express your thoughts. When you build sentences naturally, your English will sound smoother and more confident. Let's start with a simple exercise. Imagine you are at a coffee shop. I want you to think about what you would say if you were ordering a drink. Try to form a full sentence like, "I would like a cup of coffee, please," or "Can I have a latte with milk?" If you want, say these sentences out loud with me. Don't worry about mistakes right now. The goal is to practice putting words together in a natural way. Now imagine you meet a new friend at that coffee shop. You want to introduce yourself. What would you say? A sentence like, "Hi, my name is Julia. What's your name?" Or, "Nice to meet you. Where are you from?" Practice saying these sentences and try to add a little more detail if you can. For example, "I'm from Brazil and I'm learning English." Here's another exercise to help you feel more comfortable with conversation. Think about asking for directions in a new city. You can say, "Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the train station?" Or, "Is the museum far from here?" Try to practice these sentences aloud. Imagine the tone you would use when asking politely. It's okay to pause and think before you speak. Speaking slowly is better than rushing and feeling unsure. Let's try one more situation. Imagine you are talking about your day with a friend. You could say, "Today I went to the park and saw many beautiful flowers." Or, "I cooked dinner and tried a new recipe." Try to make your sentences longer by adding details. For example, "The weather was sunny, so I decided to take a walk." Adding details helps you practice using more vocabulary and makes your speech more interesting. If you want, you can write down these sentences first, then say them aloud. Writing can help you organize your thoughts and build confidence. When you practice speaking, try to focus on clear pronunciation and natural rhythm. Don't worry if you need to repeat a sentence several times. That's how learning happens. Remember, these exercises are like small conversations you might have every day. Practicing them regularly will help you feel ready when the real moment comes. And don't forget to smile and relax while you speak. Feeling calm helps your brain remember words better. If you want to challenge yourself a little more, try changing the sentences slightly. For example, instead of saying, "I would like a cup of coffee," you can say, "I want a cup of tea," or "Can I have a glass of water?" This way, you get used to adapting your sentences for different situations. Keep practicing these phrases daily, even if it's just for a few minutes. Speaking regularly, even in small steps, builds your fluency and confidence. You're doing great by taking action, and every word you say is progress. Let's keep moving forward together. Let me tell you about a friend of mine, Elena, who lives in Warsaw, Poland. She is 29 years old and works as a graphic designer. Elena has always been passionate about art and creativity, but English was something that made her nervous. She could understand a lot from movies, songs, and conversations, but when it came to speaking, she felt stuck. Her confidence was low, and she avoided speaking English at work or in social situations, even though she wanted to connect with international clients and colleagues. Elena's story is a perfect example of how real-life challenges with speaking English can feel frustrating and isolating, especially when you are in a new or unfamiliar environment. For Elena, the work meetings were particularly difficult. She often found herself listening carefully to what others said, but couldn't join the conversation. The fear of making mistakes made her stay silent, and sometimes she felt invisible during important discussions. She wanted to express her ideas and show her skills, but the language barrier held her back. One day, Elena decided she needed to change her approach. Instead of focusing on the pressure to be perfect, she started to see speaking English as a skill she could practice every day, just like drawing or designing. She realized that fluency is not about being flawless, but about communicating clearly and confidently. This shift in mindset was the first step in her journey to unlock her speaking ability. Elena began small. She made a habit of speaking English for at least 5 minutes. Daily, she would talk to herself while working, describing what she was doing or planning her next project out loud. This simple practice helped her get used to forming sentences and hearing her own voice in English without feeling judged. She also joined an online conversation group where she could practice with others at her level. The key was consistency and patience. At work, Elena started to prepare short sentences before meetings. Instead of waiting to speak spontaneously, she wrote down a few key phrases or questions she wanted to use. This preparation gave her confidence and made her feel ready to participate. Over time, she noticed that her colleagues appreciated her effort to speak up, even if her English wasn't perfect. That encouragement motivated her to keep improving. Another important change for Elena was embracing mistakes as part of learning. She stopped fearing errors and saw them as opportunities to grow. When someone corrected her gently, she thanked them and tried again. This attitude reduced her anxiety and made speaking feel more natural. Elena also used apps and podcasts to listen to different accents and everyday conversations, which helped her understand better and feel more comfortable. Elena's progress wasn't overnight, but it was steady. After a few months, she felt more confident joining video calls and expressing her ideas. She even started giving short presentations in English. Each small success built her self-esteem, and she became more active in international projects at work. Her improved English opened doors to new opportunities and friendships. Elena's story shows that changing how you think about speaking English is as important as the practice itself. When you shift your focus from perfection to communication, you create space to grow. Small practical steps, like talking to yourself, preparing phrases, and joining groups, make a big difference over time. Remember, Whether you are at school, work, or traveling, you can take control of your English learning by being patient with yourself and embracing each moment to speak. It's okay to feel uncomfortable sometimes. That's part of the process. What matters is that you keep going, just like Elena did. Her journey reminds us that progress comes with practice and a positive mindset. Let's take a moment to look back at everything we've covered so far. We started by recognizing a very common challenge many of you face: understanding English well, but struggling to speak it confidently. I want you to remember that feeling stuck or hesitant is completely normal, and it doesn't mean you're not capable of improving. You are not alone in this journey. We talked about how the fear of making mistakes or not being perfect can stop us from speaking, and that shifting our mindset is the key to breaking through this barrier. Instead of focusing on perfection, focusing on communication and practice is what really helps us grow. This change in perspective opens up new possibilities, allowing you to speak more naturally over time. You learned that small, consistent steps make a big difference. Simple exercises like naming objects around you, speaking aloud about your daily activities, and preparing key phrases before conversations can help you build confidence little by little. These practices may seem easy, but they create a strong foundation for your speaking skills. We also explored inspiring stories of real people like Elena from Warsaw, who faced similar challenges but overcame them through patience, practice, and a positive attitude. Her journey reminds us that progress doesn't have to be fast or perfect. It's about steady effort and celebrating every small victory. Remember, speaking English is a skill that improves with time, not something you either have or don't have. Each time you practice, even if it feels difficult, you're moving forward. Your brain is adapting, your vocabulary is growing, and your confidence is building. This constant progress is worth recognizing and appreciating. I want to emphasize how important it is to be kind to yourself. Learning a language is not easy, and the fact that you're here, investing your time and energy, shows your dedication and courage. Every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to the goal of speaking English comfortably and confidently. So, keep this positive momentum going. Trust in your ability to improve, and remember that mistakes are part of the learning process. You are doing great, and your effort will pay off. The journey to fluency is a marathon, not a sprint, and every practice moment adds up to meaningful progress. Thank you for being part of this community, and for your commitment to learning. Your hard work matters, and I'm proud of the progress you've made so far. Keep going. You're on the right path, and the best is yet to come. As we come to the end of today's episode, I want to leave you with a simple but powerful thought. Every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to speaking English with confidence. Learning a language is a journey, and your dedication is what makes all the difference. Remember, progress is progress, no matter the pace. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. It means a lot to know that you are committed to improving your English, and I'm honored to be part of your learning path. Your efforts are valuable, and you deserve to feel proud of how far you've come. If you found this episode helpful, I invite you to continue with us here at the English Talk community. We have many more stories, tips, and exercises designed to help you unlock your speaking skills and feel more comfortable using English every day. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with friends or anyone who might benefit. Your support helps us grow this community and reach more learners just like you. Keep practicing, stay positive, and remember that you are capable of amazing progress. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Let's keep moving forward together.